After filming over 50 hours of test footage on the S26 Ultra while building my Samsung Log LUT pack, I've cracked the code on the best settings for pro video in the Blackmagic Camera app. In this video, I'll show you exactly how to configure the S26 Ultra for maximum image quality in 3 stages. First, 3 key settings that will instantly improve your footage. Then, we'll disable the one feature that's on by default in Blackmagic Camera that is ruining your video. And finally, I'll take you beyond settings and show you the one filmmaking technique used on cinema cameras to achieve filmic motion blur using one of these. And watch until the end because I'll share one bug on the S26 Ultra that can potentially destroy your footage. And to celebrate the launch of Epic LUTs for Samsung Log and my new course, The Epic Guide to Blackmagic Camera, there's a 20% discount code in the pinned comment for a limited time. There are chapters in the player if you want to jump around. Let's begin. The first thing you'll notice is that Blackmagic Camera defaults to Rec. 709 SDR video, which bakes in a truly awful look that can't be undone. If you want the best image, switch this to Samsung Log under Settings, Record, Color Space. Immediately the image becomes flat and desaturated. That's because Log is designed to retain maximum dynamic range and color information, giving you complete control over the final look in post rather than baking in something at the time of recording. But this introduces a new problem. It's now much harder to judge exposure because the image looks so washed out. Of course, you can still film like this using the histogram and false color tools to check exposure, but the best approach is to apply a LUT in the preview to convert Samsung Log to Rec. 709 so you can see how it will look once graded. Your recording is still in Samsung Log, but your display now makes setting exposure by eye much easier. Tap LUT on the control bar. Blackmagic includes a suite of free creative LUTs, but none preserve middle grey and are not the best option for accurate exposure evaluation. I've linked the free Samsung Log to Rec. 709 LUT in the description, which is the better choice over the Blackmagic LUTs, but it destroys skin tones and colour. For best results, I recommend Gloat for Samsung Log, which not only preserves middle grey perfectly, but delivers gorgeous skin tones and a filmic colour palette. There is a link in the pinned comment if you want to grab it and save 20%. Now what I see in the preview will match my final look once I apply my LUT in post. On Android, I recommend LumaFusion for applying LUTs, and on Mac and Windows, DaVinci Resolve, which is free. Next, we need to configure our frame rate and resolution. By default, Blackmagic sets this to 4K 16:9 at 24 frames per second, which is a good default. 24 FPS is the standard for motion picture capture, and it produces the cadence most people associate with a film look. We want to keep this, but when it comes to resolution, we can do so much better than the default on the S26 Ultra. Tap on Settings, Record, Resolution. Now I know, you're going to be tempted to choose 8K, but don't. While Samsung's marketing team love this, filmmakers won't. After extensive testing, I actually recommend 6K, which is actually 5.7K in 4:3 open gate for 3 important reasons. First, file sizes are much smaller, which becomes important once we switch to the new APV codec. Second, OpenGate uses the full sensor instead of applying a 16:9 crop, which gives you a lot more room to reframe in post if delivering in 4K. And third, your dynamic range and color fidelity actually improve. Now let's move on to one of the biggest upgrades on the S26 Ultra, the new APV codec, which stands for Advanced Professional Video. Think of this as Samsung's answer to Apple ProRes. It records using all intra-compression, which encodes each frame individually, and with 422 chroma subsampling, which preserves more color information than HEVC. The downside is it uses a lot more storage, but if maximum quality is your priority, open Settings, Record, Codec, and choose APV here. For bitrate, I recommend high or max. Currently medium and low result in banding, so avoid them. Now of course, if you're running low on storage, HEVC at max bitrate is still a solid option and delivers good results, and the difference between the two codecs isn't as great as you might imagine. However, as I want max quality with the best performance in post and I have storage space to burn, I'm going to choose APV. At this point, your video quality has taken a huge leap forward. Think of these as the essential settings, the foundation for pro video in Blackmagic Camera. But there is one setting enabled by default that's actually hurting us, resulting in video that looks like it came from a smartphone and not a pocket cinema camera. I'm talking about the most uncinematic feature imaginable, digital sharpening. If you open Settings, Camera, you can see that by default increased sharpening is turned on. We need to turn this off. The result is subtle, but now we get an image that's free from over-sharpening. It's still detailed but lacks the aggressive artificial sharpening that's a clear giveaway that you filmed on a smartphone. And while we are in camera settings, you should change your shutter measurement from speed to angle, and you'll see why in just a moment. Make sure lock white balance on record is enabled to prevent fluctuations during capture. And if you want to back off the heavy noise reduction Samsung applies, disable reduce noise. This doesn't turn off noise reduction, but it does make it about 10% less aggressive. Then return to the camera. Congratulations, your S26 Ultra is now configured to capture the highest quality video it possibly can in Blackmagic Camera, and there's no better time to save all this as a preset for instant recall. Tap the three dots on the left of the HUD, then Presets, tap the plus button, give it a name, and tap Done. Now, the very best settings for the highest quality video are just a tap away should you ever need to get back to them. But correct settings alone do not deliver the perfect film look. To achieve this, there is one exposure technique that you should learn to master for filmic motion blur that you can apply to every camera you will ever use: the 180-degree shutter rule. Simply put, by using the 180-degree shutter rule, we unlock cinematic motion blur. By default, when exposure is set to auto, your phone is forced to jack up the shutter speed, which results in video with zero motion blur. Every frame is tack sharp. As a result, it looks like smartphone video, not a cinema camera. But if we tap on shutter and set this to 180 degrees, we have instantly attained filmic motion blur in Blackmagic Camera. But obviously we have a problem. The shot is totally blown out and our ISO can't go any lower. This is why an ND filter is absolutely essential if you want to achieve cinematic motion blur in daylight conditions. An ND filter is just like a pair of sunglasses for your lens that reduces the amount of light entering it. I bought this ND set from Freewell years ago for my S23 Ultra, and it works perfectly with all Ultra models since, including the S26 Ultra when paired with the Freewell Pro Filmmaker case. There are 4 filter strengths, which allows me to reduce the amount of light entering the lens by different amounts. Check the pinned comment for a link and a discount code. Now I can get perfect exposure with filmic motion blur for the ultimate film look, and I can just adjust exposure manually using the ISO slider in combination with the correct strength ND filter. But what's amazing about the S26 Ultra is it's the first Samsung device to natively support shutter priority mode in Blackmagic Camera. In shutter priority mode, you can set your shutter to 180 degrees but leave ISO in full auto. Great for vlogging or rapidly changing conditions where you want filmic motion blur and the benefits of auto exposure. Tap the exposure control and you'll see it defaults to shutter plus ISO for auto exposure. If you want to use shutter priority with a 180-degree shutter for cinematic motion blur, tap shutter in the HUD, set it to 180 degrees, then lock it. Then open the exposure HUD control, select ISO only, and now you're effectively in shutter priority mode. The camera will automatically adjust ISO while your shutter value remains locked. This is a feature usually reserved for high-end cameras, so it's great to see it available in the Blackmagic Camera app on the S26 Ultra. At the start of this video, I said that there was one bug that could ruin your footage, and that is external recording to an SSD. The S26 Ultra has broken SSD compatibility. All the SSDs that work perfectly on my S25 Ultra fail to work on the S26 and are recognized as USB 2.0 devices, which is way too slow to capture video. You might find you're one of the lucky ones and your drive works, but 100% of the SSDs I've tested have failed with the S26 Ultra, so if you intend to record to an external SSD, make sure you test it thoroughly first. I recommend the app SD Card Test Pro if you want to test sustained write speeds to your connected SSD. You can see that the same made-for-mobile SSD on the S25 Ultra achieves true USB 3 speeds of over 400 megabytes per second. But on the S26 Ultra, just 44 megabytes per second. Should Samsung fix this bug in a future system update? I'll update the pinned comment letting you know that it's safe to record externally. Until then, use internal storage. Congratulations, your Samsung S26 Ultra is now configured to capture the highest quality video it possibly can in Blackmagic Camera. But more importantly, you now understand why these settings matter and how to combine them with proper shooting technique to achieve the film look. If you found this tutorial helpful, please like, share and subscribe, and consider becoming a channel member for exclusive content and perks. And if you want your Samsung log footage to look its absolute best, check out Epic LUTs for Samsung Log. You'll find the 20% launch discount in the pinned comment for a limited time only. And if you want to master the Blackmagic Camera app, I've left a link to my new course, which is the most in-depth guide available. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.